What's up guys, my name is Ace, and today I wanted to talk about what I feel is quite an important topic for Modern Warfare 3, and this is something that I know many in the community have already touched on, but I wanted to share my thoughts on this as well. This has to do with visual recoil when firing your gun. This was a fairly big topic that came up with the launch of Modern Warfare 2. Many people were noticing there was a lot more visual recoil, a lot more clutter going on, and it was just much more difficult to see what you were shooting at, and also actively control that recoil while you were shooting because you couldn't really tell what was going on nearly as effectively as Modern Warfare 2019. And this is especially noticeable for the mouse and keyboard players in the community. So a big hope that I have for Modern Warfare 3 going forward is that they dial that back a little bit from what we saw in Modern Warfare 2. And today I did want to show a direct comparison between Modern Warfare 2019 and Modern Warfare 2 so you guys can see exactly what that difference looks like. And then we can also take a look at the few clips that we've seen so far from Modern Warfare 3's campaign with the player actually shooting their gun to see if we can get a bit of an indication of the direction they're going in. So let's start this off with that comparison between Modern Warfare 2019 and Modern Warfare 2. And with this, for the first test, we have the M4 standing at the exact same distance, just shooting a wall with no controlling of the recoil. It's also worth noting I have no attachments on these aside from just the optic, so we can see a nice clean dot of where our point of aim is. And between these two, when we look at the recoil patterns, there isn't really a huge difference between these. I'd say there's a bit less recoil in Modern Warfare 2019, but they're roughly comparable. It's also worth noting the rate of fire values are very comparable as well. However, when you watch the Modern Warfare 2 clip, if you pay close attention to what's going on with the gun especially, just look at how much this is bouncing around when you're firing your gun. It's bouncing all over the place. It's very jarring, especially when you really focus on it. It's super jarring to see that. Whereas with Modern Warfare 2019, it's still bouncing, of course, while you fire, but it's far less jarring. It doesn't seem like it's bouncing around nearly as much. But again, the actual recoil you experience where the bullets land is roughly comparable in both cases. So that's the first big difference between Modern Warfare 2019 and Modern Warfare 2 when it comes to this visual clutter when it comes to recoil. As for the next thing I wanted to point out, and this is something many people noticed right away with Modern Warfare 2, and they ended up toning this down to some degree, but it still ends up being a little bit worse than we saw back in Modern Warfare 2019. This is the amount of muzzle smoke as well as just gases that are being ejected from the gun as you're firing. And this is especially bad in the firing range for Modern Warfare 2, but that's not necessarily representative of what you normally experience in-game, and this also does depend fairly heavily on your lighting situation. But even here in a brightly lit environment on San Jacinto border crossing, if you just take a look at the amount of smoke in general across the entire screen, and you're really focusing on that aspect while you're firing, it's almost like a strobing effect. Whereas when we take a look back to Modern Warfare 2019, you can see that there is gas coming out toward the right side of the gun, but it's much more localized. It's not covering the entire screen, and it doesn't feel like a strobe nearly as much. And while this may seem quite subtle, it does add up to harming the visual experience when firing your gun. At least in my opinion, it's an unnecessary distraction that takes away from your target acquisition, as well as your ability to finally control your recoil. And this leaves us with one other area that I wanted to mention that harms your ability to properly see what's going on, and it can be quite jarring. This is how much of an offset you see between your point of aim and the sight window itself, due to the fact that the weapon model is rotating more in Modern Warfare 2 compared to Modern Warfare 2019. And what I mean by this is with this same style of optic, with Modern Warfare 2019, you can see that red dot is always quite close to the center of the frame of your optic. It may deviate very slightly here or there, but generally speaking, as long as you keep the target centered within that window, you're going to be on target fairly effectively. Whereas in Modern Warfare 2, you can see a lot more deflection here. You're seeing the gun rotate a lot more, and right here is a great example of just how much deflection there is. That dot is nowhere near the center of the frame of that optic, whereas in Modern Warfare 2019, this is about as bad as it would get as far as that offset goes. And once again, this is just another area that makes things very visually jarring, and it makes it that much more difficult to track and counteract recoil in Modern Warfare 2, despite the fact that the recoil itself isn't much different at all. So there we go. Those are what I feel are the three biggest factors that contribute to this feeling of more visual recoil in Modern Warfare 2 compared to Modern Warfare 2019, and what I hope we don't end up seeing with Modern Warfare 3. But now let's have a look at a few of the clips that we've seen from the campaign footage for Modern Warfare 3, keeping in mind that sometimes the visuals and even the stats of the weapons can be a little bit different between campaign and multiplayer, and we also don't know what state this build is in, and things could definitely change by the time we get our hands on this. this, so we'll have to revisit this once we get into the beta, for instance. But taking a look first at this clip right here, let's focus on that first factor we talked about, and this is how much the gun itself is bouncing around in your hands. And as we can see from this short clip, it doesn't seem too extreme like we saw with Modern Warfare 2. Instead, I would say this does look more along the lines of what we saw with Modern Warfare 2019. That weapon model doesn't seem like it's overly jarring and distracting while firing your gun. Next, what about muzzle smoke? Well, one big thing to consider here is there is a suppressor on this gun, and suppressors often do reduce the amount of muzzle smoke you see in both Modern Warfare 2019 as well as Modern Warfare 2, so I don't know if we can judge this fully based on this clip, but we're going to take a look at it anyway, and I'm really not seeing much, if any, muzzle smoke here at all. So again, that seems like a good thing, but we do have to see what an unsuppressed gun looks like at some point. And then finally, how much does that center dot deviate from the middle of the optic? And this is one area where, unfortunately, in this clip at least, we're seeing quite a bit of deviation here. So I will say that does concern me a little bit. As for another quick clip that was posted on Twitter, therefore the quality isn't quite as high on this one, so it's hard to judge as accurately. This one is with an Uzi using a holotherm optic. And again, the amount that the weapon model is kicking, that doesn't seem too extreme. That doesn't seem as crazy as Modern Warfare 2. However, I will note it appears there is more muzzle smoke in this particular clip. Again, the quality is a little rough, so it's hard to tell, but I am seeing a bit of a strobe-like effect there. Not quite to the same degree as Modern Warfare 2, but there definitely is muzzle smoke covering the majority of the screen when you fire. And again, just like the previous clip we looked at in Modern Warfare 3, it appears there is quite a lot of deviation from your reticle to the window of the sight. So it looks like we do have quite a bit of weapon rotation when you're firing, which can make target acquisition and recoil control that much more difficult and jarring. So there we go, that is going to wrap it up for today's video. Overall, I do have some concerns with Modern Warfare 3, and I'm hoping we don't see nearly as much of this visual distortion and disruption while firing your gun. And I know this might seem quite nitpicky, and I'll be the first to admit that this isn't the end of the world for me playing Modern Warfare 2. It hasn't been a major issue for me. However, in saying that, I am a controller player, and it's not as bad on controller because the aim assist can at least help you stay on target as long as you're strafing in a gunfight to activate rotational aim assist. This is much more of an issue for mouse and keyboard players. But even still, as a controller player, I like to see what I'm shooting at nice and clearly, and I would much rather have to focus on controlling and predicting actual recoil than seeing all this visual clutter and basically guessing where your target is because you can't really see them properly while you're firing your gun. Now, I know there's probably going to be some people out there that kind of like this visual distortion because there's an argument that it is more realistic. It's hard to fire a gun full auto and clearly see what you're shooting at. But again, my stance on Call of Duty is quite consistent here. I don't think realism should ever get in the way of good gameplay design. And to me at least, it's good gameplay design to be able to see what you're shooting at, and the skill gap should be coming from controlling the actual recoil while being able to see your target, rather than not being able to see what's going on and essentially having to guess while shooting at where you think your target is. And for me at least, I'd much rather see more actual recoil and less visual recoil than what we've currently got available. Now, of course, that is just my opinion, and I'd love to hear what you guys think about this in those comments down below. Do you think, at least in relation to Modern Warfare 2, they should be cutting down on the visual clutter and visual recoil and the amount of gun shake that you see in the game while firing? Or not? Do you like the visuals of firing your gun in Modern Warfare 2, and do you want to see that carry into Modern Warfare 3? If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.